how can we be true to the highest principles that we have been taught? In Matthew 5, Jesus taught the disciples the Beatitudes, and in Matthew 6, he warned them about practicing their piety in order to be praised by others. In this part of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about two important aspects of the holy life: almsgiving and prayer. The overall theme is that these activities of righteousness should be done with the right motivation. And that brings us to our key verse for today, which reads, "Watch out! Don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others, for you will lose the reward from your Father in heaven." Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. Verse 1 starts with a warning to take heed. Jesus wants his audience to take special care to understand the teaching he is about to give. He begins with the issue of alms. These are the gifts one brings to share with those in need. Jesus tells his listeners not to bring alms to seek the attention of others. If one seeks attention from others, then the reward of others is all they will receive. There will be no reward from God. If one's actions are for the benefit and admiration of others, then they accomplish nothing. Jesus is directly contrasting his teaching with the actions of the Pharisees his hearers would have seen often publicly. The Pharisees were regarded as very pious for their devotion to the law of God, but Jesus is teaching that following their actions to be seen rather than giving out of humble obedience to the law of God is unrighteous. Those who do such outlandish giving are called hypocrites. They look pious and righteous, but they are seeking to glorify themselves and not God. Jesus tells us that to give with an expectation of being noticed and rewarded by people is to give with the wrong attitude. Jesus emphasizes the importance of our actions being done in secret. This word is often used in negative contexts, but can also simply refer to inner, private matters as it does here. When we give in secret, we give because it is the right thing to do, not because we will get something out of it all. Still, this verse does assure us that if we give without seeking attention, God will see and reward us openly. Jesus applies this same secrecy principle to prayer. Jesus declares that praying to impress others makes people into hypocrites. He describes the hypocrites as those who find conspicuous places to stand and pray in the synagogue and even on the street corners. Their objective is to have everyone see them and admire their devotion and dedication. Instead, we should go into a secret closet. This does not refer to a modern closet used to hang clothes or coats, but to an inner room in a house, often used for storage. Even though no one else may know what we are doing, God will see, know, and reward us. This is not to say we should avoid praying in public, but we should not pray to show the public how pious and spiritual we are. Even in public, our motivation should be to glorify and seek God and God alone. The Gentiles had so many gods and so many names for them that they would try to list them all to make sure they included the right one. Also, they would try to flatter the gods in order to convince them to answer the prayer. Their prayers would often include mantra-like repetition, thinking that if they said the right words the right number of times, their God would have to respond. Jesus said specifically not to be like them. He assures us that God, our Father, the Omniscient One, knows already what we need even before we ask, and God cannot be manipulated. God stands ready to answer our prayers and bless us because of the love He has for us. Here's our lesson. This lesson suggests 3 things we can do this week to think about and demonstrate the attitude Jesus describes. First, pay attention to those around you who may be in need. It could be a coworker who needs assistance, a child who needs you at an inconvenient time, someone at church who needs support, or a homeless person on the street who needs a meal. Meet the need, and then don't tell anybody. If you are not thanked, choose to be at peace, knowing that your Father in heaven rewards. 2, be intentional about prayer this week. Set aside time with your Father, not just because you have a need, but to continue to develop a relationship with the one who loves and knows you. And 3, if you're on social media, pay attention to the things you choose to post this week. Evaluate your motivation for posts, photos, responses, or shares.